Hello and welcome to Time About the Movies Flashback. Today we're flashing back to December 11th, 1987. We got 4 movies to look at today, 3 notable movies, and then one you might have never heard of. I know I certainly didn't, so that should give you an indication of how I feel about that one, but we will get to that one as we go along. But let's go ahead and jump right to it. Let's start off with the biggest new release of the weekend. Danny DeVito making his theatrical directorial debut in a fun, seriously fun black comedy with Billy Crystal and Ann Ramsey. It's called Throw Momma from the Train.
DeVito. I don't want to say on the phone. All I can tell you is that I killed her last night. And Billy Crystal. One little murder and I'm Jack the Ripper. Have a special holiday thought for you. I kill your wife, you kill my mama. That's fair. Throw Momma from the train. David! This is Cousin Patty. You don't have a Cousin Patty. You lied to me.
Now showing at selected area theaters. Consult newspaper directory for showtime.
Thank you for ruining the best joke in the movie, TV commercial guy. Yeah, I know they did that because the local people came in and said, now playing at, Showcase Cinemas or in Monroeville or something like that. But it's just like, why'd you have to cut off the sound of the best joke in the movie? That's one of the funniest jokes in the whole movie, where Danny DeVito takes the frying pan and hits Billy Crystal, and you hear the bonking noise on his head as he goes down. It's like, you lied to me, bonk. But I digress. Throw Momma from the Train. You have Billy Crystal starring as Larry Donner, who's an author and writing professor who tutors people that want to write books. Larry's life has become a misery when his ex-wife Margaret has published a book that he wrote under her name and has gotten rich over it. Owen Lift, played by Danny DeVito, who's one of Larry's students, offers Larry to kill Margaret, and in return, Owen wants Larry to kill his horrible mother, played by Ann Ramsey. Larry thinks it's a joke until he learns Owen killed his ex-wife, and Larry has now become the prime suspect. So, it's essentially a black comedy version of the Alfred Hitchcock classic Strangers on a Train, and it is very much an inspiration of that, and goddamn, it's a very, very funny movie. I mean, this is what you think of when you think of prime Danny DeVito direction. I mean, this is a movie that came right before War of the Roses, which is another classic black comedy of his, but this movie takes the opportunity and just goes with it. Like, it knows, like, it's being sold as a dark black comedy, and it's going to take every opportunity to do so. And it's a PG-13 black comedy, too, which you don't think would really mean that much, but the things that they were able to get away with this movie without an R rating is amazing. But again, this was back in the 1980s when PG-13 didn't just mean the PG-13 that it is now. A G-rated film back in 1987 gets a PG rating now because the G rating isn't marketable anymore. Like, the problems with the MPAA rating system, which I've talked about in detail before. If you want to go check that out, video's right there. But back to this movie. Just a classic comedy, man. Funny. Great cinematography by Barry Sonnenfeld. This is a great cast overall that includes Kim Greer, Brandon from Marsalis, Kate Mulgrew, Rob Reiner. Of course, Ann Ramsey's great in the movie. She actually was nominated for a Golden Globe and an Academy Award. Yeah, remember the days when the Academy Awards honored comedies as the best pictures of the year and got the top major awards? I mean, yeah, we had it last year with Barbie, but still, not as much as it used to be back in the day. Because comedies back then, there were several comedies that got nominated for Best Actor, Best Picture, and one of the big ones was Tootsie, which nearly won that Oscar that year, if it wasn't with Gandhi and E.T. in the way, but yeah, you get the idea here. Like, the movie is just fun, black comedy gold, all the way through, visually incredible to watch, just an amazing, amazing film. What more do I gotta say, man? I mean, if you love stuff from Danny DeVito, if you like The War of the Roses, if you like stuff like Hoffa, or even crazy stuff like Death to Smoochie, this is must-see entertainment for you. This is a great, great film. Throw Momma from the Train. Definitely check it out. Another movie you should definitely check out is the next movie we have here, and that's Oliver Stone's follow-up to his Best Picture winner from last year, Platoon. That is, of course, Wall Street.
Platoon, Wall Street.
What makes you tick, bud?
Money is the sex of the 80s. Now you do good. You get perks. Lots and lots of perks. Just the beginning, pal. Every dream has a price.
Here's everything you get you blind to see it.
You went after Gecko with the same vengeance you went after me. Look in the mirror.
I'm looking. I sure don't like what I see. Wall Street, rated R. Starts Friday, December 11th at theaters everywhere.
Greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right. Greed works. Had to double check to make sure that was the actual quote. But this is Wall Street, in which Michael Douglas stars as Gordon Gekko, who is an unscrupulous corporate raider, and it follows a young stockbroker played by Charlie Sheen, who becomes involved with said corporate raider. And you also have Daryl Hannah and Martin Sheen among the cast, as well as Hal Holbrook, Terrence Stamp. Like I said, this is Oliver Stone's follow-up to Platoon, and to come off of Platoon, which is a classic movie, and follow it up with another masterpiece of a movie, that's incredible. And this movie, it really is. If, Platoon was the definitive Vietnam movie, this is the definitive movie of the 1980s in general. This is a movie that just screams 1980s stockbroking in New York City. If you saw old archival footage of this of Wall Street back in the day, you would feel like you're right. This feels like a movie that instantly takes you back to the 1980s. I mean, that's what it looked like back then, and it just shows you the power of of greed and corruption in this organization that they have here going on here. It's such a great film, a stacked cast, a movie that Michael Douglas rightfully won an Oscar for Best Actor. It was a really good year for him, because he also had Fatal Attraction this year as well, which also got several Oscar nominations somehow. But I mean, it's a movie that inspired people to work on Wall Street too. I mean, there's a lot of people who took inspiration because of what these guys did with this film, and it's just such a gritty, cold, hard reality, and it does make you want to get involved in this somehow. And it's a great film. It's a masterpiece of a movie. And then, of course, they had to butcher it with a sequel, and that was when Oliver Stone's career really took a huge nosedive at that point. It was just like he was willing to do anything to get his name back in the picture again. And Wall Street Money Never Sleeps is a movie that just is such a mess of a movie. Like let me put it this way: it did for Wall Street for Michael Douglas what Basic Instinct 2 did for Sharon Stone. I mean, it's an inferior sequel. Maybe not as bad as Basic Instinct 2, but still pretty bad. But yeah, like I said, it's a great movie. Oliver Stone, this is at the peak of his prime. Just a phenomenal film. Again, one I can't really say too much more about, but yeah, if you haven't seen it already, you should. This is a required movie to see. Seek out Wall Street if you want to, if you have to. But, I do highly recommend it. So yeah, with that said, on to the next movie we have here, and that's Steven Spielberg's latest film, Empire of the Sun.
Desperate time. A world at war. A boy alone.
Oh, the 1980s, when Steven Spielberg was such a big draw, but whenever he tried to do a movie that was hoping to win an Academy Award, it either was completely overlooked by the Oscars, or it turns into schlocky stuff like this. I mean, it only took him 6 years later to realize, I should do a movie about the refugees from the Holocaust to win an Oscar for Best Picture, and of course that led to probably his greatest movie in general, Schindler's List. But yeah, this is a movie. This is Empire of the Sun. This is the follow-up to his movie The Color Purple, which was the last film he did, which was a movie that was essentially another Oscar bait movie, but a good Oscar bait film. This one, not so much. It tells the story of Jamie Jim Graham, played by Christian Bale in his film debut, who is a young boy who goes from living in a wealthy British family in Shanghai to becoming a prisoner of war in a Japanese internment camp during World War II. This is a movie that was actually passed around to several other directors, including Harold Becker and also David Lean, who had just done a movie before this, before he passed away, which was A Passage to India, which actually came out 7 years after he died. But he was a producer on this movie, and then Spielberg came on board. But actually, no, David Lean was a director on this, and then Spielberg came on board to produce it, and then Spielberg decided to direct the film himself because of a personal connection to Lean's films and World War II topics, and he considered it to be the most profound work of the loss of innocence. And it was a successful movie critically, box office wise, not so much. And like I said, remember how a lot of people thought The Color Purple was just too gimmicky and Oscar baity for its own good? Well, that's kind of how I feel about this movie. I really love The Color Purple. I think that's a great film overall, but this felt like it was just way too gimmicky, too sappy, and even too much as Oscar bait. You can even see it in that trailer there. And don't get me wrong, there is definitely a lot about the film that I think works. Once again, the visual style of the movie is very impressive to look at. It perfectly encapsulates life during that time period. The acting in this, I think, is really solid. A very young Christian Bale in this movie really does show a lot of the potential that he would eventually show in stuff like Newsies, and of course with Batman Begins and American Psycho. The story itself, there really is not a whole lot working for it in the favor that it's something that should be seen. It's nothing about this movie that makes it feel like it's supposed to be enlightening or inspired. When Siskel and Ebert reviewed the movie back in 1987, they said it best when they said, it's a good idea for a film that never gets off the ground, and the movie has a hard time trying to figure out what it wants to be when it's all said and done. It doesn't know if it wants to be the heralding look into World War II through the eyes of a child, or if it wants to be an adventure film like Indiana Jones. John Malkovich literally plays an Indiana Jones-like character in this movie, and it just felt like Spielberg had lost his way while making the movie because he didn't know what to do with it. And really, that's easily the best way to describe the movie. It just feels like a film that's all over the place, and you get the sense that he wanted to make a movie that would eventually not have the Oscar, but he just couldn't get away from those blockbusters that made him the big star, the big director that he was at the time. And it really also hurts when there was a much better movie that felt like this movie in general, and that was The Last Emperor, which is a movie that is very similar to this. It's a much grander, more epic film that feels more like a movie what this movie was trying to be in general. Like, The Last Emperor really felt like the movie that I think Spielberg wanted Empire of the Sun to make. It was much grander. It was on an epic scale. It was a movie that has a lot of the same ideas that Empire of the Sun was, this time with the focus being on a kid who has essentially grows up becoming the next emperor of China. And, it's a masterpiece of a movie that swept the Oscars that year and really is one of the best Picture winners of all time. Empire of the Sun feels like that movie that's what The Last Emperor was trying to be, and The Last Emperor was much more successful at that. For Empire of the Sun, it does work on a visual level and acting wise, but like with a lot of most Oscar bait movies, it's a style over substance movie. The script has no real concrete souls of what it wants to be, and the movie suffers because of it. And Spielberg had a couple of these movies around this time where it felt like he was trying to get that awards bait with, the previously mentioned The Color Purple, which was easily the best of the three films mentioned, and also Always with Holly Hunter, Richard Dreyfuss, and John Goodman, which, again, had a lot of decent moments to it, but was another one of those style over substance movies. This is the first real overall stumble for him as a director. It's not a bad movie, but it's definitely a film that you expect a whole lot more with a director on the caliber of Steven Spielberg's name, and it just wasn't there with this movie, and it just really suffers because of it. So, I mean, if you're a Spielberg file, it's probably worth it just for a one-time watch, but you're never going to want to watch it again after that. It's a shame, because it's hard for me to talk bad about Steven Spielberg, but even the greatest directors of all time are entitled to at least making one bad movie in their careers. And that doesn't mean that Spielberg is not completely void of that list either. So there you go. That's Empire of the Sun. Now let's go ahead and move on to the last movie. Speaking of Basic Instinct, as I brought it up early on, Sharon Stone is in this next film, Cold Steel. A movie so bland and forgettable, it doesn't even have a real trailer for it. I actually had to take trailer clips. I had to actually find a version that was made pretty much from a trailer of Die Hard 2. Somebody made like a fake trailer online, and I guess there is something to it. Whereas I guess somebody remembered this movie to make a fake trailer for this, but The movie begins when Detective Johnny Modine, played by Brad Davis, gets his Christmas celebration spoiled with the news about his father's death, which is the work of psychopathic junkies who slashed the old man to death while robbing his store. Johnny is determined to find the person responsible and get his revenge, even if it means the end of his police career. Johnny doesn't know that the murder was actually part of a sinister revenge plot directed against him. Leader of those murderous thugs is his former friend and colleague Isaac, played by Jonathan Banks, who blames Johnny for the incident that left him crippled many years ago. But before he gets to Isaac, Johnny must overcome many obstacles, including Kathy, played by Sharon Stone, an attractive, mysterious woman with a hidden agenda. Adam Ant is also in here too. That's literally all I know about this movie, really. I mean, like I said, this is that one movie on here that I knew nothing about, and it says a lot when there's not even a full trailer for this left over from when this movie came out. But I mean, I guess it has somewhat of a fan base if someone has to make a fake trailer on a line for it. But I don't know. Like I said, I haven't seen the movie, so I can't really say if it's any good or not. I'm guessing it's not very good if it doesn't really have that much of a legacy behind it. So, not much more to say about this one, but came out this weekend. Might as well bring it up. Cold Steel. And with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movie's Flashback. We don't flashback to December 4th next time because there is no movies coming out that weekend. But we do flash forward to Thanksgiving weekend with a couple of notable movies, including the biggest hit of the year, Steve Guttenberg, Ted Danson, and Tom Selleck in Three Men and a Baby. One of my all-time favorite movies, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And we also have Housekeeping. So we'll flash back to November of '87 on the next episode. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and as I mentioned on the regular Time About the Movie series, we are getting close to 4,000 subscribers. We're about less than 20 away, so if you can, please hit the like button, please hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification button so you can get updates on when new videos get posted. So with that said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Until then, take care.